Awesome. Thank you very much. And let's kick it off. Let's just get going here. We got a lot of content in a very short period of time. And for anybody out there that knows who I am, I talk way too much. But let's introduce myself here. My name is Chris Thoman. I am just crested over my 6th year as a sales manager here, very quickly approaching my 7-year anniversary here at Compass, because I started in Compass in May of 17 as an agent, very similar to everybody here on the call. Currently right now, for another 2 weeks, I am the managing director for Boston, which is the headquarters for all of New England, as well as I oversee the entire South Shore. So if anybody knows Massachusetts pretty well, the Mass Pike runs right through the middle. I oversee everything from the Mass Pike south, all the way down to Rhode Island and Connecticut. I've been in this position now for about 6 years, which is great, and I've loved every second of it. I am 2 weeks from now going to be a full-time coach with CSC. I am working with Wendy, who you may have seen in yesterday's session, to help launch the one-to-one coaching arm for CSC. I am also going to go back to as someone said to me, the dark side. I actually look at it as the bright side, to be honest. I'm going back to selling some real estate as well, which I'm so excited. Cartwheels down the street. And at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with Compass Corporate. It is more all just about myself and my family. And I needed to make the decision. I have, as I was told this morning and corrected, a 7 3/4-year-old daughter, as well as a 9-year-old son. And they are in the thick of windshield time between coaching teams, as well as dance studios and gyms and all that type of fun stuff. So I am making the move out of corporate Compass into the 1099 world of Compass, and I'm so excited to be part of the CSC team. Chirag and I have been very tight for a very long time. He's been my personal business coach since he was an employee of Compass back all the way through 18, 19, and 20 until he decided to open up CSC independently. But let's kick it off. Let's talk a little bit about our agenda today. What we are going to be talking about is why for client events. I find over my years of talking to people locally and nationally, a lot of agents don't do client events, which I think is pretty interesting. We're going to talk a little bit more about group events, one-to-one events, meaningful targets throughout these events, why your sphere of influence is actually your number one marketing team. And I love the marketing teams across the country. But I will tell you, your sphere is your number one asset. And then we're going to wrap it all up in a bow. There is a lot of content. This call will be recorded. You will have full access to it post-call as well on the platform. So keep an eye out for this recording. And then in my talks with Chirag this morning, I said to him, this is a topic that could be a 2-hour presentation. We're going to work through and put together another hour presentation and really get into the nitty-gritty of details of client events as well. So we will try. I will do my absolute best to leave a couple minutes at the very end of the call. If you guys want to stay on a little longer and talk a little bit, answer any questions or whatnot, happy to do so as well. So let's kick it off right now. Let's talk a little bit about why it matters. Well, as you all know, we are in the relationship business. Period. Hard stop. The more relationships that you create in your network, out of your network, within your business itself, the more sales. It's the part of the wheel, part of the cog. One of the number one cogs in the wheel is relationships are the name of the game. The second piece of why client events really truly matters is it comes down to delivering the ultimate experience or experiences, depending on your clients. And that's actually one of the things that separates you most from the competition. We are coming out of a 10-year run of very transactional real estate where agents would meet a lead or a cold lead, or maybe get introduced to someone even through a referral on a Thursday, show them 2 houses on a Saturday. They make one offer, multiple offers. They get their offer accepted. The next thing you know, they're off into the running, and you didn't get a chance to even find out how old their kids were, or did they play basketball in college, or what's their favorite beer. You don't know exactly what that is. And that's where these experiences and these events really truly come into play. And that leads into the client loyalty. It doesn't just happen overnight. So we're moving into a world where you're going to spend more time with some of your clients, and you should be doing that. In the event you meet someone on a Thursday and they buy a house on a Sunday that exact same week, then you should make sure that you dig into getting to know them as well. And the little things matter. One of the things that I find year over year, day over day with a lot of agents is they feel that holiday cards and maybe a Christmas gift and a closing gift is all that they should do. And that's it. And not really dig deep into the relationship. It is just like when you first started dating or are currently married to your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner, whoever it might be. The little things matter in those relationships. Those also matter in your client relationships when it comes to real estate. And we're going to wrap it all up in a bow with your sphere of influence marketing plan. Let's talk about group events. So group events, I break them down into 4 separate categories. First and foremost is your grand client event, your big party for all your A clients, right? The same people that you're writing those holiday cards for. Those are your 20 or more attendees. And then there's your intimate event, which is 10 attendees or less. Your value event, in my opinion, your value event is a few different things, and we will talk exactly about that coming up next. But your value event really and truly is your dinners with a couple sets of clients. You're inviting them to go, inviting your number 1 referral partner to be your 4th in an amazing foursome to go play golf with. Those are your really true value events. The second tier to a value event is also where you are partnering up 2 people or introducing 2 people that can gain value from each other. And then last but not least, it's your sponsorship event where one of your clients is running a charity and they're having a big event and you buy a table and you surround yourself in that table with not only clients, but more than likely fellow colleagues as well. So let's talk about the grand event first and foremost. The grand event is one of those events where you have the ability to market yourself on a large scale and say a really true big thank you to those clients of yours. So here's really where the structure comes into play. First and foremost, in a grand event, what you need to do is take a look through, call it your top 100 clients, and say, what do these clients all have in common? And how can I deliver an ultimate experience for them? And once you've had the ability to identify that thing, and you'll be very interested to see, if you've never done this exercise, is looking through your book of business and your A clients and saying, what do they have in common? And you will start to find a common theme. And that could be anything from maybe craft beer to skiing to playing golf to their friends of friends, and you're all part of the same friend group and you do a lot of things together. You'll start to find that common theme across, which will make your event planning a lot easier. What I always suggest is find an event that's going to be meaningful to them. And here's a great one is we're in New England, or I'm in New England, I should say. One of the biggest things in New England, especially in Massachusetts, and I'm assuming it's similar in other places, is leaf peeping and pumpkin apple picking in the fall and September. Most families, most people do that. Throwing a client appreciation event at a apple farm is one of the easiest, low-cost events that you could possibly do. In this set event, you have to deliver also some value. So there's 2 things that come into play here. What can you actually deliver for value? If you're bringing, and I'm going to use this as an example, and I have so many more that we can talk about, but we'll use this specific as this example for today's presentation. In this apple picking event, food is a necessity. So maybe it's a food truck that you have to sponsor, or hopefully you pick a place that actually has food on place. More than likely, you're also having kids attend this event. So there's needs to be something there for the kids to be able to do, as well as alcohol. Let's call it the elephant in the room, the ability to also serve alcohol. And I think Here was a great tip that came through from uh, Josh Muncy. And any of you who are part of this CSC community, I will give you this great tip for him. He has run a very similar event year over year for his clients. He has had a few mortgage agents, mortgage companies, or mortgage brokers sponsor it. A few attorneys help sponsor it as well to bring his costs down. And they hire a professional photographer. So I would guess that the majority of you, including myself, received a lot of holiday cards with pictures of the family and maybe a quick update of what they have going on. Paying a professional photographer about $1,000 to $1,200 to take professional photos of the attendees and their families that they can then turn around and use those photos for holiday cards, for the pictures on the walls, whatever it might be, is an amazing value add that you can give them and a takeaway from that event that will live on. And here's the ultimate thing with that live on is two things. One, if you are booking a private photographer for yourself and your family, $500-$600 for that session. This is free to them. So there's a value add for them to even come and attend. The second value add is that picture will go onto every holiday card, more than likely be spoken about at every single holiday event that they go to, that card was sent, and then potentially in a frame, on a wall, on a shelf, whatever, inside their home. And when people who have never met you see those photos and say, oh my God, that's an amazing photo of you and your family, the first thing out of your client's mouth is, and Keith, you're the first person that I see here in my little screen, so I'm going to use you as an example, is, oh my God, Keith was let me tell you about my real estate agent. He throws this amazing event every year. He pays for a professional photographer. We had these photos at that event. Oh, really? Oh my God. How was buying a house with him? Right. And now that passive marketing just started to happen because that photo will continue to live on. And that's a great value add for yourself. Here's your second component to your grand event. You invite every one of your attendees gets a +1. Or maybe if it's a big event like this, it's a plus family. That person, that +1, needs to be and has to have a requirement of someone you've never met. Here's why. At this event, you have all of these people who potentially have never met each other, who are getting introduced to each other by you, and then you're walking away. And then they start to have the conversation with each other about, oh, you bought through Keith? I bought through Keith. Where'd you move? Oh, this is where I moved. Oh my God, he was amazing. Da, da, da. As that conversation happens between your two clients, their +1s are standing next to those two clients, hearing nothing but positive reviews about you and the experience that you were able to provide for them. And that's where that passive social, that sphere of influence marketing team comes into play. I will, and you can hold me to this, I will guarantee you, if you throw an event like this, you will walk away with minimally 2 to 3 referrals that will pay for your entire event and then plus some. And anybody on this call right now that doesn't have that happen after an event, reach out to me directly and I will give you free coaching sessions. No question, hands down. And I guess you could lie and we'll do a free coaching session anyways and have a lot of fun. But anyways, let's move on quickly here to intimate event. That's 10 or less attendees. That intimate event is where you ultimately dig deep with your group of clients and find out what they have in common. Let's talk about, I know here in Boston, we have an event kitchen, they call it, where you can get a group of people to come in and take a cooking class. So if you were to happen to have a lot of clients who love to cook, or maybe they love to entertain and they cook as part of it, you bring that group of 10 people together and you sponsor that event. Here's the piece, the value piece. When you're actually putting that event together, you need to think about who your clients are. Do you have a financial advisor and maybe someone else who's a venture capitalist person who loves to do investing, who you think that they would get along really well? And when you put that group together, people that have never met, and they start to get along with each other, they start to see value in what you brought to the table, and they start to have conversations with each other and do those type of things and have those type of maybe even coffee meetings because they saw value with meeting each other down the future, and you were the catalyst to that relationship. That's that value event. That's the value event that I really want to dig into as well. Is intimate events need to have value to them, not just the benefit of you. If you can bring a benefit outside of just real estate to your clients, they will love you for life. Your value event is exactly what we were just talking about. A great one of this, and this is one of my actual favorite, longest relationships in real estate, Jessica Witter, here out of the Boston office. What she loves to do for her clients is this: is when she sells two properties and she says, you know what, these two couples will get along so well, she takes them to dinner with her husband. So the three couples go to dinner and they eventually get a chance to become friends, and then they see value in each other because of their respective industries, whatever it might be. And that has led to massive amounts of referrals throughout her entire career. That's a true value event. The second value event could be this: if you are an urban or even suburban, if there happens to be a child store that is a small business in your town or city, I want you to go and make friends with the owner and throw an event for the families, for the parents of younger children that would fit the profile for that store in the store. The owner's going to love it. They're going to think it's a great idea. You're bringing people through. They're in the store itself. They're seeing the product. You get a chance to have a conversation with all of your clients, and maybe there's a speaker who wrote one of the books, or someone who has some type of independent clothing line or something along those lines that are in there as well. Or maybe it's just an overall speaker about parenting, something to that effect. What happens after that is this is a great win, and this is coming directly out of my personal playbook from when I lived in Boston. Was I had a very good friend who owned a children's store. We threw a couple of client events in her store. Now, every single time someone goes into that store on Newbury Street, she has a personal relationship with them. They have a conversation. She has sent me so many referrals. And the reason why is the majority of the clientele going into that store love that store. So they start to have a conversation with Lauren, and they go, Lauren, I'm going to be so sad when I move to Wellesley. I'm not going to be in the city all the time to be able to see it. Wait, you're moving? That's Lauren's response. Do you have a real estate agent? You have to work with Chris. And that's that small business value event for yourself that leads to your sphere of influence marketing team. Last but not least, your sponsorship event. These are pretty big events. One of my I guess will be former agents on my roster. Allison Mazer is a huge charitable person, and she goes to all kinds of different events. And her MO is always this: she always wants to give, and she's willing to give more than what she ever receives. And so she sponsors tables and whatever she can get her hands on, and she brings clients with her, and she brings clients that she feels have a chance to meet each other and can also benefit from attending that sponsorship event as well. And then what that ends up leading to is what she's paying for a table at that entity ends up helping her out and sponsoring things for her in the future as well. A couple quick things on one-on-one events is, and I'm going to fly through a couple of these, and then I'm going to hopefully stop here at 5 minutes of take the slide presentation off, and we'll do a little bit of Q&A. And as you can see, there's a lot that goes into these private events. So the value event we already spoke about from a one-to-one perspective. The intimate event is this: you should have dinner, lunch, or breakfast with every single person that has ever sent you a referral at least once a quarter, if not every beginning of the year and second half of the year. And here's why. They put their name on the line by referring you, and you need to repay that favor and repay it forward. And that's where that little intimate event comes into play. And that intimate event can be breakfast, it could be lunch, it could be coffee, it could be golf, it could be Top Golf, whatever it might be, but something that you have in common with that referral partner. And I will guarantee you will see 1 to 2 referrals from that referral partner every single quarter. And that's also comes into what I call a meaningful event. And then the sponsorship event. We always are getting calls as agents from different people in our sphere that has said, oh, I'm throwing this big, there's one here, the winter ball that's about to happen. Someone just called me and asked if I would be a sponsor for it. And those type of things, there is value to that. The little league team, the soccer team, the whatever it might be that your family is also a part of, those sponsorships are very, very big. Meaningful targets. Your meaningful targets for every one of your events should really anchor into knowing who your audience is. And for that type of event, is it a wine tasting? Is it a private chef cooking at a public kitchen somewhere? All of those type of things need to align with the commonality of all of the people that you bring in. And that experience really and truly needs to matter. That matter is, you want their takeaway is this: when they walk out the door, they want to say to the person next to them or to the whoever they came with, I cannot wait for the next event. That was awesome. That's the type of situation that you want. And I will anchor on this component to it. Here's one. If you have been to a Compass retreat, put yes in the chat. And I see a few starting to come in now. Here's the thing about Compass retreats that I want. And in that yes, also throw in there, did you have fun? Did you enjoy it? Do you want to go back to another one? And I see a lot of big funds and yeses and capitals and whatnot. Well, quick news flash for you. You, the agent, is Compass's customer. So when that grand event gets put together, the ultimate experience is top of mind by the events team here at Compass, because they want to provide an amazing event for all of you to continuously be happy here at Compass and thrive and utilize everything that Compass can provide to help service your business. That is a client event. It really and truly is. Now, we talked about stuff shared in common. Here's one for you that I'm going to throw out. First is that client events don't have to actually be people who you buy and sell with. A great client event is every agent that you did a deal with in the past 12 months that you loved having that deal with. The agent that when you saw their name come through on the offer on your list, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be such a great and smooth deal. It's not going to fall apart. We're going to be able to put it together. Throwing an event as a thank you to them for transacting with you is a massive, massive relationship win. So don't lose sight of that. It's a great network. You can call it whatever you want. Networking, you can call it appreciation event, a thank you event, whatever it might be. But that will be an event that I promise you will lead you to more deals. And then last but not least, before I pull the slide down and we can talk a little bit about Sphere Influence Marketing Team, is takeaways. Any grand event, actually any event outside of a small, intimate one-on-one, or maybe it's a private dinner with a couple people, with a couple of your clients, whatever it might be, every other event should have a photographer. Here's why. We talk about building content for yourself, for your business, to be able to market yourself out there. Content of people smiling and having a great time at one of your events is a massive win for both you and for them. And you can do some private photos, and maybe it's a photo booth or something along those lines. But photographer, big, big, big. That's a Levy Meyer. Anybody who knows Levy Meyer out of South Florida, one of the most networked agents in the entire country. Huge. His number one is, okay, we're going to throw a big event. Who's our photographer? That's the first thing that he ever truly brings up. And then last but not least, swag. I have to have a conversation about swag. So real quickly on the swag event. Swag itself should be, we all have them. The Yetis, the hats, the t-shirts, the sweatshirts, the stickers, the pens, whatever it might be. We've all created these things. If you are going to create yourself a t-shirt or a hat or a sweatshirt or some type of clothing on it, please stop putting your name. Stop. Stop doing it. The hat with your monogrammed logo up in the front, and then it says, and I know Margie's on here, I saw her name, the Margie McShane Group. That's not how it should be done. It should just be the logo. Here's why. The logo causes conversation, right? It's, oh my God, hey, that's a really cool hat. Where'd you get that hat? What's that? What's the, and I see Sarah on here too from Florida. What's the double S for? Now the conversation begins with, oh my God, my agent Sarah, this is her team hat that she gave me at such and such event, and it was awesome, and blah 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 blah. And the conversation happens, right? Everything you do from a swag component needs to drive a conversation between that person wearing or writing with or the sticker of. You want that conversation to continue to happen. Here's a great example. If I put a Nike swoosh up on the screen, you would all know exactly what it is, but it doesn't say Nike. If you go to Nike.com right now, you will only see, I did this research this morning, you will only see the word Nike 5 times on their entire homepage. 5 times total. And that only happens to be either it happens to say Nike on a sweatshirt somewhere, or at the very bottom where it's like work at careers at Nike. It's nowhere else because everybody knows what the swoosh is. So that's your branding. That's your branding. That's your takeaway for the day. And we're almost here at time. But one last thing is the memories piece that I have to talk about. And that's where the photos come into play. That's where the takeaway from it needs to be something useful. If it happens to be you do the apple orchard, sweatshirts are great with your big monogram logo right on the front. People will wear them because it's probably going to be cold and a little bit chilly, and then they'll put them on at the event. Like, think about all of these little tiny things matter. And then 2 last things. 1, be prepared. Don't just say a week out, like, oh my God, I should do this. This would be a great idea. Let's throw a big event. You will stress yourself out. It won't be run real well. Make your big grand event an annual event on the same weekend every single year, so your clients already know it's always going to happen, etc. And then your small little events scattered throughout, but plan it out. It will relieve the stress that you will have for it so significantly. And then last but not least, and this is a Allison Goddard out of DC and a Justin Martinez out of New York City, must have for every client event they have, follow up. You have to follow up after that event. Every person that you invited that attended, bulk email, whatever you want to use to be able to get the follow up to them. But hey, wanted to follow up on the event. Thank you so much for coming. It was so great to see you. Something along those lines. Thank you cards, whatever it might be. But the follow up is key. And then every person you met throughout that time, this is your notebook. Your entire event. The minute you walk out, you sit in the car, you're about to leave. All right, I met Jeff Flacker, Palm Springs. He told me that he was, and I can't see the picture behind you, and I wanted to use it as an example, but maybe it's a baseball, maybe it's a lacrosse team, who knows, right? Just told me that he played lacrosse at UNC forever and a day, and we had a great conversation about lacrosse. Well, guess what? I'm going to follow up with Jeff when the PLL comes into town, right? Like those type of little things are top of mind. Make sure you follow up with all of that stuff, and then you can send those targeted follow-ups to everybody, and that helps build your brand through these events. As you can tell, I talked really fast. I covered a lot of content, and I still have only had 1 cup of coffee, so there's that. But the second piece is I could run hours of this specific topic. And you're going to hear more about it as we move forward throughout the roadmap. My sessions are specifically around your sphere of influence coming up. Networking events, that's my next session. Sponsorships to have mortgage brokers and furniture companies and art dealers and all those type of things help contribute to your business through sponsorships. Sphere of influence, networking / marketing. That's one of my absolute favorites. And then referral harvesting. And I'll give you a little piece. Before I stepped into where I am now as a sales manager, I never sent a postcard. I never sent a letter. I never did a digital ad. I never did all of the things that we talk about here at Compass was not part of my own personal business plan. My business plan was build the biggest network and make as many relationships as possible. And before I stepped into here, I was at my team and I, which was a couple agents and myself, was averaging about 45 to 50 million year over year just through that with zero marketing. And that's just based on this. Looking back now, knowing what I know, I wish I had done all those other things. I probably wouldn't become a sales manager to have my weekends. I would have just run a team. But that being said, I'm here for you. Thank you for attending. If anybody wants to jump off mute and ask any questions on anything before we move on for the rest of our day, Margie, must be cold down there in the Cape. I see that hat on your head. It is cold in Boston, my friend. But if anybody has any questions, I do have a few more minutes, so please feel free to ask. No? Did we enjoy it? Did anybody take away at least one thing for today? Good. Good. This is good. I'm available. It's Thoman at Chirag Shah Coaching. Send me emails, ask questions. Happy to have different conversations about this. We actually here at CSC actually have a full playbook on how to set up client events. So if you reach out to me directly, I will make sure to get you that link as well. And you guys can use that game script and then go through there and use that in any way. Otherwise, enjoy your week. And I hope you have some fun up there because giddy up, it is going to be a wild spring. I'm so excited to be on your side of the fence moving forward as well. It's going to be great. But